How's it going, everyone? My name is Amos, and I wanted to talk to you about the stocks that I believe are buy and hold forever. I'm going to straight up tell you this video is controversial, full of unpopular opinions, but let's go ahead and get into it. And by the way, this is a part one in a two-part series. Now, I think the generally accepted popular belief is that the Mag 7 or the big boys within S&P 500 are going to be the ones that are buy and hold forever. But friends and family, that couldn't be further from the truth. Because the S&P 500 and the top 10, the holdings, very fluid, dynamic, and it changes every single decade. Case in point, if you take a look at your screen right now, in 1990, the most powerful company in the world by popularity and market capitalization was IBM. In second place was ExxonMobil, GE, Philip Morris, a tobacco company, Shell, Bristol Myers, and two different pharmaceutical companies, Merck as well, Walmart and AT&T. Which, mind you, in 1990, I think every single one of these companies, super high quality, dividend compounders with cheese without any doubt. However, if you fast forward just 10 years, look at how it changed, right? Some of them, they left the top 10 altogether. The reason why I'm showing you the top 10 in the S&P 500 is essentially they were the Mag 7 of their era, of their time period. Meaning at the time, everyone in 2000, they believed that GE, Exxon, Pfizer, Cisco, and Citi were going to be unstoppable, invincible, the outperformers of the stock market for the next 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 years from now. However, if we zoom out and look at 2010, look at how the top 10 changed again. And if we look at 2024, look at the big dogs of the S&P 500. They're the ones that are responsible for moving the market on certain days. If it weren't for Apple, Nvidia, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, dude, the stock market would be relatively flat or even in the red. And if we look at these top 10 of right now, I guess in the past 1 year, 2024, we think they're going to be invincible. But friends and family, that's a recency bias. These are the ones that are successful for the time being. Not in the next 20, not in the next 50 years. It's going to change. Like I said, this video is going to get me a lot of thumbs down. Eventually, in 2030 or even 2035, another company is going to come along and take their place, and the top 10 of the S&P 500 is going to look completely different. You can quote me on that. Evidence in the timeline, the history of the stock market shows us what's successful today, like in 1990, may not be in the top 10, and their stock price will go back down to earth and be a normal stock in the S&P 500, because in 2024, none of these are represented over here. So believe it or not, I think the sexy, flashy names that we are all familiar with today, they're going to be the ones that are most vulnerable to startups or the next shiny thing. That's why I can't call what's hot right now a buy and hold forever stock. So when I think about like Meta, Google, Microsoft, Nvidia, they might be hot and popular and at the top of their game right now, but in 20, 40, 50 years, dude, I don't think that's going to be the case. And I'm going to explain my reasoning in part two. Because in this video, I want to talk to you about what I believe are the buy and hold forever stocks. So in my humble opinion, what are the sectors, industries, or stocks that I think are buy and hold forever? Well, I think to be in this category of buy and hold forever, their business model has to be super and highly resilient, despite and in the face of technological innovation, disruption from AI, and relevant for the next 50 to 100 years, right? To have that kind of genie in a bottle to be able to tell the future, it's super hard. So when I think about buy and hold forever, that means their product or service is going to be rooted in the necessity of human life. Meaning, if this publicly traded company does not exist, then neither will human life. Now, innovation might change how it's delivered, but it's still going to be needed by your grandchildren and the children of your grandchildren. You get my drift? So business model or operations that are necessary to sustain human life. Which takes me to my argument right here. So what you see on your screen right now is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I remember learning about this in 2010 as a psychology major at the military academy that I went to for my undergrad. And it's essentially on a high level, a model of human needs. Like what you need in order to be happy and fulfilled. The bottom of the pyramid is what you need the most, because without it, you can't live or survive. So the bottom of the pyramid, the basic needs, these are your non-negotiables. And then above it is going to be the psychological needs, like feeling a sense of accomplishment or contribution to your community or to your workplace, and having relationships with friends or with your kids. And at the very top is self-actualization, and is what you need to have your full potential, to put it all together. And that's why I think stocks that are tied to food, utilities, healthcare, and safety, when it's built on life's non-negotiables in order to survive and thrive, I think they're going to be the ones to be buy and hold forever. Does that make sense? I'm kind of interjecting science into finance to derive my definition of what makes a buy and hold forever. And that's why I think the blue chip companies with a very boring business model that humans need to live are going to be the winners 50 to 100 years from now. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to outperform NVIDIA and Microsoft and Tesla in the next 2 to 3 years. But what I am saying is that when the dust settles, once AI and robots take all of our jobs away and we're made obsolete, they're going to be still left standing, because we're still going to need to eat. We're going to still need to clean our faces and etc. So let's jump into it. The first category of stocks that I think are buy and hold forever are in the utilities sector. I'm talking about specifically electricity, the ones that help turn on powers for our houses, residential homes, commercial buildings and whatnot, but also the water utility companies. The reason being is that every single one of us watching this video, we all pay for our monthly bills in order to have toilet water to flush down our protein bars that we drop before going to work at 7 a.m. in the morning. Or think about it like this. When you walk into your basement and it's pitch black and you're just going down there to grab a tool or whatever else you need, it's good to be able to turn on a light switch to have the light turn on, right? If you want that to happen, you're gonna have to pay your utility bills. Because without water or power, all the luxuries and conveniences that we take for granted are going to disappear. And that's exactly why these companies will get paid no matter what going forward. It doesn't matter if robots and AI take over. We're gonna still have to utilize water and electricity. Now, I have videos that break down the entire industry and show you which ones are the best, and then of course which ones are the worst for both the electric utilities and the water utility sectors. Every single utility publicly traded stock is represented. Watch those videos. I promise you it is worth your time. So that's category number one. The second group that I think are buy and hold forever are the consumer staples. Because even if AI takes over the world, I know I sound like a broken record at this point, we still need to eat and drink and stay clean. Remember the Maslow's hierarchy of needs? It's at the very bottom. Because without those three, you're not going to live, right? So food, beverage, household essentials, and personal care. And in this category, I would argue my most favorite pick is going to be Procter & Gamble. Now, this is a company that I have been dollar cost averaging into as they have reached their 1-year low of about $149. I have been dollar cost averaging for the past 2 weeks. They are here today and here tomorrow. They're in the business of diapers, shaving razors, shampoos, toothpaste, floss. These are household essentials that are not going to disappear. Even when the times are rough, like during a recession, or when the times are good, during a bull market and everyone is happy and spending a lot of money, we're all gonna still shampoo our heads, unless you're bald. If you're bald, I guess you have a hall pass not to buy a shampoo. But for the most of us, if you have hair, you're gonna be buying a Procter & Gamble product. My second pick in the consumer staples category is gonna be PepsiCo. If you go down to any grocery store, Maybe not Whole Foods, but every other normal grocery store like Food Lion, Safeway, Giant, or even at Walmart. For the snacks, chips, soda, and drinks aisles, about 30 to 40% of all of the products on the shelves are going to belong to PepsiCo/Frito-Lay's. This is a very high quality dividend compounder with cheese. If we jump on over to their dividend profile, 53 years of growing their dividend payout. So this number right here, $5.69, has been growing at a rate of 6.5% year over year, and the dividend yield right now is just shy of 4%. So if it's growing at a rate of 6.5%, that means the amount of money that goes into your pockets has increased by 6.5%. Also, if it's a 3.9% dividend yield, it doesn't matter if you have $100 or $100,000 invested into PepsiCo. That dividend yield is still 3.9% of that principal amount being paid out to you. And that principal amount that's paid out to you, that dividend payout, is growing at 6.5%. Now think about your workplace right now. What's your raise at the end of the year? You get a 2, 3, a 4% raise. With PepsiCo, your dividend payment and that passive income grows by 6.5%. Where are my manners? Let me show you Procter & Gamble as well. Why I think they're also buy and hold forever. They've been in the game of consumer staples for the longest time. But as a dividend growth investor, what makes my mouth salivate is that they've been growing their dividend for the past 69 years. Now, according to my YouTube analytics, most of you watching this channel, you're between the ages of 55 and 65. Meaning, they've been growing their freaking dividend longer than you've been alive. It's not going to stop anytime soon. And they grow it at a rate of 5.9% year over year. Friends and family, Procter & Gamble, PepsiCo, here today, and it will be here 100 years from now. They're buy and hold forever. Now, the next stock that I believe is a buy and hold forever in the consumer staples category is going to be Clorox. Now, they make everything and anything related to cleaning, sanitizing, disinfecting, bleach, chlorine, and even Burt's Bees lip balm products. If you're into that, like you can tell right now, I put Vaseline on my lips. So when we think about Clorox, they've been growing their dividend for the past 48 years. My goodness gracious, that is good. I don't think you guys understand why that's so impressive. Because in the past 48 years, we have had, quote unquote, generational buying opportunities and catastrophic events where people were like, we're doomed. Not only did they survive and weather the storm, but they were able to grow and raise their dividend in the face of setbacks, in the face of the financial crisis of 2009. Of the pandemic crash of 2020. In face of that, they're still growing their dividend. And that's why when I think about 69 years of dividend growth, dude, I'm like, all right, you have my stamp of approval. Because they don't have to grow their dividend when the times get hard. But because they keep printing cash by operating in the consumer staples section, they're able to have a steady flow of cash to predict and forecast like, hey, our dividend is going to be sustainable and it's healthy. We can grow this dividend. It's not going to be cut. Now, the last stock in the consumer staples that I think is buy and hold forever, I'm not investing into them, but real recognizes real. They're so freaking high quality. As a matter of fact, it's Warren Buffett's one of his favorite stocks, and it's Coca-Cola, ticker symbol KO. Dividend yield is 2.8%, and they've been growing their dividend for the past 63 years. They're in the business of selling beverages. Energy drinks, Coca-Cola, and personally, my favorite brand of milk, which is Fairlife because it has the highest concentrated amount of protein per serving. Well, what do I mean by they print cash? In order to have a dividend that is sustainable but also growing, because they can forecast like, hey, we have enough money on hand. When you take a look at Procter & Gamble, the parent company of so many different brands and products that you use in your own household, take a look at their top line. It is consistently and reliably growing. No, it's not growing at a rate that makes your jaw drop like 40% year over year, but it's consistent. From 2018 to 2025, it's green every single year in terms of a percentage change. And if we jump on over to their cash flow statement and we look at their free cash flow, the amount of cash that's left over after funding for the operations, it's just as beautiful. And I think this is a better indicator of the sustainability of a dividend because it's cash that actually pays for the dividends. And as you can see, in 2016 was $12 billion of free cash flow. And now it's $14 billion. Consumer staples, the very best of the best, the high quality ones, they print cash and their dividends are magnificent. And the next category of stocks that I believe are buy and hold forever are waste management and garbage disposal services, because trash is not going to go away anytime soon. Unless you live off the grid and you decompose all of your own trash and you recycle it to use it as soil to grow your own corn and strawberries. But for the most part, 99.9% of the individuals that are watching this video, we do not have a compost pile in our garden or in our backyard. Every single one of us pays for someone else to come to pick up our garbage twice or 3 times a week. And that's just the way that it is. Because as consumers, we buy things and we accumulate trash and we take it out and it magically goes away into a landfill. That's a service that we are not going to neglect 5 years from now or even 50 years from now. As a matter of fact, as populations grow and consumption for everything increases, the demand for efficient, reliable waste disposal will only become more and more critical. Beyond just picking up the garbage, think about it like this. Modern waste management companies are innovating with recycling programs and they're developing waste-to-energy technologies in order to reduce landfill use and environmental impact. So they have all of their bases covered. The green folks love them, and the materialistic people love them as well. And to be completely transparent with you, I do not own any of these stocks that we're about to cover right here in the trash category. My number one for this sector is going to have to be Republic Services. Ticker symbol RSG. And they're in the business of disposing trash for residential customers, but also commercial clients. When we take a look at their financials and their income, take a look at their top line, 2015, $9.1 billion. A company that takes your trash and puts it into a landfill. $9.1 billion. That's over 10 years ago. If we fast forward to today, now they're generating $16.3 billion. Dude. That's magnificent. And if we scroll on down to take a look at their net income, which is ultimately the bottom line, and how much profit is left over after funding for their income statement operations and every overhead cost, and how expensive the payroll for your employees are, the trucks, whatever, for the past 12 months, their profits going into their pockets is $2.1 billion. If you zoom back 10 years ago, it was $750 million, just shy of. It prints cash. My second favorite in this category is going to have to be waste management, because I think their footprint looks just as pretty as Republic Services. However, I prefer Republic Services leadership team to that of waste management. It's a personal preference thing, but for waste management, it's just as beautiful throughout the years, and it's consistent as well. And also, they're dividend compounders with cheese. I forgot to mention that, right? The dividend yield, nothing to write home about, but the growth rate of this number right here, $3.30, is 8.6%. Meaning, no matter how much you invest into them, that payout is growing by 8.6%. We need to think about it like that. So your pay raise at work, instead of being 3 or 4 or 5%, imagine 8.6% for your payout for the next following year. I think that's pretty darn impressive. And the third stock in the trash management category, I definitely think is flying under the radar. And in my humble opinion, I think they're a hidden gem, and it's Waste Connections. And unlike Republic Services and Waste Management, Waste Connections, ticker symbol WCN, well, they prefer to have clientele that are in rural areas and underserved communities. So they're not trying to fight Republic Services and Waste Management with the big urban cities. No. Waste Connections, they do business in the areas that are neglected. To kind of give you another example, it's Kind of like Walmart and Target, they usually operate in the same territory, in big urban areas or in areas that have a big suburban footprint. Whereas on the other hand, Dollar General, well, they do business in the underserved communities and rural areas. If you ever go into a flyover state in Oklahoma or Kansas, and the population of that city is like 500 or even 1,000 folks, they're not going to have a Walmart or a Target. They're only going to have a Dollar General. Likewise, the trash company that services that city is going to be Waste Connections. And I think this one needs to be talked about more often because I think their financials are just as pretty as Republic Services and as Waste Management, but on a smaller scale. However, as you can see by the percentage change year over year for a company that takes away your trash and makes it magically disappear, I think it looks just as impressive, if not more beautiful. So if I were to buy a stock out of the three, it would be Waste Connections. Yes, this is the one that I would buy into over Waste Management and over Republic Services. And if we just take a look at their 5-year share price appreciation performance, 88% in the past 5 years. Now, do I want to invest into them right now at this moment? I wouldn't mind, but I'm not dying to invest into them. It would have to be at the right price, but I would want the trash management companies to be a part of my portfolio when I get a little older, maybe in my 40s or 50s. Right now I'm in my mid 30s, and only at the right price would I buy into them. They're not a priority stock, but I do think they're buy and hold forever. I mean, what do you think? And the next sector that I believe is a buy and hold forever is the insurance world. Because think about it. People and businesses are always going to need risk protection, whether it's because of regulation or because you are wealthy or even sick. Insurance is basically how we protect ourselves from super expensive setbacks, like getting into a car accident. Yeah, you're going to want car insurance. If your home gets flooded because you live in Florida or South Carolina, I bet you're going to be thankful that you have a homeowner's insurance that's going to cover that damage. So, car insurance, life insurance, health insurance, renter's insurance, the list goes on and on. I'm bullish about the insurance sector because no matter how smart we get or how much technology improves, risk is just unfortunately one of those things that are just a part of life. And insurance is the backup plan that everyone needs. Now, between you and me, I made a video that breaks down the general insurance industry. And again, I'm telling you right now, it is so worth your time because we go through all of the best heavy hitters from best to worst, and I tell you which ones that I'm personally willing to buy. Give it a go, watch it. I promise it's worth your time. If you don't, here is the reason you should. Progressive is one of the insurance stocks that's featured in that insurance breakdown video. Their performance, taken into account their share price appreciation plus the dividends paid out, this is the adjusted stock price total return for the past 5 years, friends and family, 200%. Now, if you zoom out and do 10 years, 900%. So 10 years ago, you don't have to just invest into a technology company or into the Mag 7. There are beautiful companies and businesses in almost every single sector and industry if you just look in the right places. Your money would have 9x'd in 10 years. Dude, that is absolutely wild. But I'm going to show you it gets even better. If we do 15 years, it would be just shy of 2,000%. So I'm telling you right now, I think the insurance business and the stocks associated in that realm, nobody talks about them, but they deserve the attention because they are outperformers of the stock market. Dude, they're crushing it. And if you take a look at their financials, it's even more pretty. So don't take my word for it, but it is what it is. And then last but not least, if we reference the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, another category of stocks that I think are buy and hold forever, but they're outside of the red base right here, but still falling under the safety needs category. Well, friends and family, I think it's the military and defense world. Because since the beginning of time, war and conflict has always been on the menu. Between you and me, I would absolutely love it if there was world peace and nobody decided to conquer another group of people ever again. But the reality is, evil exists in this world. Dude, there's people out here that are just absolutely atrocious and are monsters in their hearts. And that's why, whether or not it's a good thing, protecting your borders from threats is a top priority for every nation. And again, I have a video that breaks down the military-industrial complex and all of the big players in that space, ranking them from best to worst. As a former infantry officer, I know when you look at me, I look like a silly, maybe even a slightly weird person, but in a former lifetime, it was my job and responsibility to train young infantry soldiers to go to battle. And because I have hands-on experience with the products and the equipment as a guy that operated in the military world, when I talk about the stocks in that video, I'm speaking from first-hand experience of understanding like, yo, this right here, XYZ, dude, their future is encapsulated into the DoD. And I think it was Peter Lynch who said, invest into what you know. So to be fully transparent, military stocks make up a huge chunk of my portfolio because I truly believe in their long-term future. And if you already watched my military stocks ranking video, kudos to you, and I'm gonna give you my current updated ranking. Number 1, friends and family, is gonna be this one right here. Oshkosh Corporation. I talk about them in almost every single upload. I just sold out of them. So I don't even have a piece of the pie, but this is a company that I truly think will outperform the stock market at least in the next 5 to 10 years. They make industrial equipment, okay? Number 2 is going to be Huntington Ingalls. And they're the ones that are responsible for making the carriers, the cruisers, the destroyers, and submarines for the US Navy and US Coast Guard. Number 3, this one breaks my heart because they were number 1 for the longest time out of the entire military world, and that's going to be Lockheed Martin. However, they just lost the contract to make the F-47 jets to Boeing. Yes, because of that, their stock price has been absolutely crushed, but also in their last earnings report, their classified projects, dude, they've been burning through the cash and they've been having setback after setback, so their earnings per share took a huge and drastic hit. Because of that, and to account for that, now they're in 3rd place. And number 4, friends and family, is going to be Northrop Grumman, which is the parent company of the B-21 Raider, which is a stealth bomber, dude. Absolutely scary. Okay, and they're also the parent company of a whole portfolio load of different missiles for different needs. So they're number 4. And when I say number 4, I'm not saying they're trash. I'm saying they're a really solid company at number 4. And then number 5 is going to be a tie between 2 different military stocks. And that's going to be RTX, formerly known as Raytheon, and of course, General Dynamics. They do a little bit of everything. So that's my updated military stocks ranking. So there you have it, folks. That's my take on the buy and hold forever stocks that I think will be successful not only today, but in 50 to 100 years from now. But there's also another side to this coin. There are stocks and sectors that I am fearful about, that I do not think are going to thrive in maybe 20 or 40 years from now. That's going to be in part 2. So if you're interested at all, you ought to subscribe so you don't miss that upload. But let me know what you think. If I was out of line in this video and you think I'm ridiculous for my ideas of what are buy and hold forever, you gotta let me know. I won't be offended. Or let me know what you think will be buy and hold forever. Okay, because I gave you my ideas. I would love to hear your side of the story. Anyways, I love you guys. Stay safe. Good luck in the stock market. And I'll talk to you next time. Peace.